especially as ambitious men, we get so focused on the next thing and where we're heading that we miss the real work that's actually going to get us there quicker, which is what's happening right now. And I got used to that process. Okay, I study hard, I get all A's. I
Mm.
grind and I practice, I get on the football team. I interview for a bunch of jobs. I work hard at work. I go and get the job at Amazon. And then when I stepped into entrepreneurship and my relationship with God, it's like not all of this is on your time frame and not all of this is on your effort. And actually, when you truly surrender to God, it's like your confidence should be more in the Lord than in yourself and in man.
Jack, you're a former Amazon engineer. You're the premier body, mind, and life transformation coach for high achieving professionals, and you help six-figure men who are ready to trade coping habits for true confidence and clarity and so much more, man. Such an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for your time, dude.
Yeah, Eric, thank you so much. And I just first and foremost want to thank you for creating this platform and showing up for your audience every single day, providing them with so much value. It just makes me think back to my life and my early walk, especially with the Lord. I'm about 30 years old, or I'll be 30 this year, and
Come on.
I didn't have that figure in my life who
Mhm.
was older than me as an adult, really to show me like how to walk with Christ. So I just appreciate what you're doing for the younger audience, and also just want to give a shout out to your audience. Like the reason I'm here is for you. The reason they're here is for you. So wanted to also follow in your steps of leadership. I left you a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. So just want to shout out your audience to go do the same for you on whatever platform, just so that such a powerful message, especially for men, so that we can get that message out through your platform as well.
Oh, come on, man. That's so amazing, dude. Thank you so much for leaving that review. I appreciate it, dude. I,
Always.
I like to kick the show up by going back a bit. Like, where did you grow up? What was childhood like for you?
Yeah. Yeah, childhood for me was very just your traditional American life, and I kind of like to frame it as talk a little bit about who I'm here to help so that people understand like the parts of my story that are important. So for me, everything looked good on paper. Went to university, got good grades, had great jobs, worked in corporate, worked with Amazon, like you said. But I always felt like a lot of those guys who were lacking motivation, they lacked discipline, and they tried all the different things like trying the diets, trying the workout routines, trying to drop all the addictions, but trying to go to church, but could never just figure it out. So
Mm.
all the little tidbits of my story is because I was in those exact shoes, and I know what it's like to know you have more potential, but just to feel like you're not living in it. So I just leave that as kind of a intro to my story and where it begins. Like I told you, I'm the oldest of 6 kids, so grew up in Massachusetts. I actually grew up in Catholic school, went to Catholic school my entire life. I'm not Catholic now, but went to Catholic school through high school, went to college, small school in North Carolina, Elon University, and walked on as a Division I football player there, was studying computer science. And really the biggest thing from my childhood that I got was you're capable of achieving whatever it is you set your mind to. And kind of how my parents ingrained that just into my mind was they made us basically get all A's growing up. So it was like, you're
Okay.
capable of getting A's as
Yeah.
long as you study and work hard enough. So that's kind of what we're going to demand in this house. So
Yeah.
I was blessed to have parents that led in that way, that showed us if we decide we're capable of something, we can get there. And that kind of set the tone for my whole life as I went into college, was in the honors program, walked on the football team, and then got into the corporate career. My big kind of resume builder was Amazon. And then as I started walking with the Lord and I got into entrepreneurship, that whole your input equals your output shifted a little bit. And I had to realize like sometimes you're going through life and you're putting in all this input, but you're not necessarily getting the output. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I grew up.
Wow, man. I know what a crazy story, dude. Like, awesome that your parents made you get the all A's and things like that. Like, I was not a good student. My dad tried to pay me to get A's, and I think I got paid a couple times through high school was about it.
Yeah.
But know, like, did not pay attention to that. But like for me, I gave my life to Jesus after really 10 years of wandering the world and living in the world, and realized that in order for me to change, I had to change my environment. Like for you, you talked about like that moment where you gave your life to Jesus. Like, what was that moment like, though, for you where you fully surrendered to
Yeah.
Jesus and started to make those changes?
Yeah. Yeah, I was also listening and hearing your story about when that happened for you. Like you were at the party with friends and
Yeah.
God was like, if you keep living like this, you're going to end up losing your life. And it reminds me of a good buddy of mine who basically tried to take his life overdosing on pills. And the next day, he found out one of his good friends died from an overdose. He was at the funeral looking at his buddy in the coffin, and God spoke so clearly to him, like, if you don't change, you're going to end up the same way.
Mm.
And the pivotal part in my walk with the Lord was something similar, where God was like, if you keep living this way, what I have for you is never going to come. And
Mm.
so I can resonate with you talking about your addiction and breaking that. And I respect that because there's such a power in vulnerability where a lot of men, especially for me growing up, my father was an incredible man, but he wasn't necessarily somebody who expressed his emotions. So for a man to, number one, understand his own thoughts and emotions by himself, but then to be able to articulate that to others, it just opens up so many doors for healing and maturity. So I appreciate you being vulnerable there. And that's kind of where my walk with the Lord started as well. I grew up in the Catholic Church, like I told you, but in college, I was drinking, smoking, having sex in casual relationships, all this type of stuff. And claimed Jesus, but wasn't really living it. You wouldn't have
Mm.
said I had an experience with God, and I hadn't.
Yeah.
And the first time it really shifted was I had a girl in my life who told me, I feel like God's asking you to surrender your entire life to Him. And I had moved from California to Florida to start my first business, which was a consulting business. And I ended up somehow, I traveled across the country with this same girl. We were friends before we started the road trip. All of a sudden, we're boyfriend and girlfriend at the end of the
Sure.
trip. So I'm like, and I was moving in with a 65-year-old guy at the time, where at that time I was like 24, 25. So I got to Florida and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I just left San Diego, a place I absolutely love. I'm
Yeah.
moving in with this 65-year-old guy who I barely know. And all of a sudden, I have this new girlfriend. And for the first time in my life, I cried out to God and just gave a vocal prayer where I was like, Lord, I don't know what to do. Like, please show me if I'm doing the right thing or not in all these areas of my life.
Wow.
And it was the next day where my mom sent me a Bible verse that this young lady had sent me a couple weeks prior in a very similar situation. And just the coincidence was too much of a coincidence to not be divinely orchestrated. And I remember journaling about it, and my hand was literally shaking because it was the first time I'd ever truly seen and witnessed the presence of God in my life.
Wow.
And after that, I just started seeking more and more. And my switch, though, wasn't like this switch like yours was, where you went cold turkey. And I
Sure.
wish it was. And I would encourage everybody who's wanting to see what God can do in their life to surrender and go all in, because that's where you'll find truly His presence. But for me, it was this slow process of first I stopped smoking, and then I stopped the drinking, and then kind of the moment God talked to me was my last thing to give up was lust in my physical desires. And I was
Mm.
in a casual relationship, and I wanted a wife, and God was kind of like, you're dating this woman who you have no intention to marry, and you're also physical with her. So why would you expect me to bless you with a wife if you can't even nurture and steward the space for me to bless you with that?
Wow.
And that was kind of the final turning point, was me being like, okay, I'm going to even surrender my physical, my sexual desires, my relationships to you, Lord. And with that process, just of continuing to surrender more and more daily, that's kind of how I've gotten deeper with Christ.
Man, that's such a powerful testimony there of going through that and seeing God just his hand in your life there. Once you started to kind of take hold, or God started to take hold of your life there, and you were like following him, like what habits and disciplines did you put into place to really get you on the path that you're on today?
Yeah. Yeah, I think people will question, like, do I have to have habits and discipline with the Lord because it feels so structured, and sometimes we don't feel like our relationship with God should be structured, but it says so clearly, especially I think there's a lot in Proverbs about the power of discipline. And
Yeah.
I was just looking at the word, and it's like, okay, if I want to truly live in the abundance of whatever God has for me, then that probably means I have to live in obedience to Him.
Mm.
And what is He really calling to do? Well, He says it first and foremost, above all, have no other gods before me. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and your mind. And in turn, what that means is, okay, if God is first in my life, then probably I should be starting my day first with God religiously. And
Yeah.
I like to create a distinction between religion and relationship,
Mhm.
where the place I found God was through building relationship with Him. But yeah, if I'm going to find a relationship with God, I have to nurture that. And that starts every single day by I'm going to put God as my first priority. I'm going to start my day really in prayer and in his word. The word really just to understand like what is the nature of God and then also how is he calling us to live. And when you understand God's nature and how he calls us to live, and then you act in obedience to that word, you just start to see him working more in your life. So that was by far the most important thing and the most transformational habit that I built was just starting every single morning in the Word and in prayer, and then really developing a relationship, which is two parts for me. Speaking, just speaking from the heart. You know, I will get mad with God. When I'm angry and pissed off, I'll tell God that. And like I'm
Yeah,
frustrated, like, why is this not moving along in my life? You know, sometimes I'll even use cuss words in my conversation with God because it's
sure.
something I've been working on is being super honest. And,
Yeah.
you know, God wants us to bring everything to him. So getting to that point of truly expressing your heart, but then also getting in a place where you can be silent and actually listen for the Lord. That's why I talk so much about the importance of your mental health. And you know, if you can't steward and create a quiet mind, then you're never ever going to be able to hear from the Lord. So those are really the most powerful routines that I've built.
Man, I love that. Morning routine is such a big factor in my life as well. And I think for me, I'm 45. So as soon as I open my eyes in the morning, I immediately go, man, thank you, Jesus, for another day to see and hug and
Amen.
hold my family, right? That's win number one. Mentally, I go, win number one, jump out of bed, make my bed. There's two wins in 15 seconds. So I'm already firing up on these cylinders, right? And then for me, it's immediately going to the office and having that time of worship and prayer. And I had a pastor on my show a while back talk about he made this covenant with God that just said, "Hey, I'm not going to check my email, my phone, my text, nothing until I've had my quiet time with God." And I was like, "Man, what a cool concept!" Because I would, prior to that, I would be like down there getting coffee and be scrolling through Facebook and Instagram. But once I said, "All right, God, I'm going to make that same covenant with you," man, it was a game changer for me that I don't even turn on my phone or look at my phone until I've had
Mm.
my time and reading the Word and in prayer, man. And so that morning routine is so powerful.
Yeah, that's super powerful. Just your ability to say, I'm going to shut off every distraction and I'm not even going to allow anything else to come into my life. I read this book. It's by a gentleman, Newport, called Deep Work, and he talks about this mode called monk mode, which is basically like, just like you said, I'm going to focus on one thing for 60 to 120 minutes. I'm going to cut out every single distraction. And what that's just going to do is help me get into that flow state where I'm able to fully connect with whatever it is I'm doing. And
Hmm.
it's most powerful when you do it with God.
Oh, come on, man. That's awesome, dude. Like you went from Amazon engineer, like I said, to coaching over 100 men on habits, structures, and discipline. Why did you decide to kind of leave that, what I'm sure was a pretty high paying job, to go to consulting and coaching and go out on your own?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I feel like for me, there was just this desire to serve and to build. I think as men, a lot of us we feel purposeless, we're lacking fulfillment if we're not making some type of progress in our life. And typically that requires us to first have a vision that we're heading towards. So growing up as the oldest of six kids, I always kind of innately had that leadership responsibility. And then playing football my whole life, I was also involved in that team environment. So being able to set an example and then help people see that same transformation in their life really inspired me. And yeah, it started kind of with this entrepreneurial desire to build. And then while I was at Amazon and in the corporate world, I saw that all my focus was on making money. How can I get that next promotion? How can I get the next raise? Or how can I get the new job? And I told myself my finances was only to support the lifestyle that I wanted to live. And I also told myself all these other things, my relationship with God, my physical health, my mental health were priority above my work. But when I looked at my time and energy, the only place it was being spent was on my work. So
Mm.
as I started to change my priorities, actually spend small time daily just on these consistent habits, physical, mental, spiritual relationship with God, I just saw a radical change in every aspect of my life. First and foremost, my character, how much it evolved me as a man, how much I matured, how much more grace I was able to find, how much it helped my relationship with God, and then how much it helped my relationship with people. I was able to be better for friends, family, colleagues. And then also, it also radiated into my career where I had better opportunities. So I kind of had started with that personal development process before I got to Amazon. That opened up doors with Amazon and then opened up doors for me to start my consulting firm before I do what I do now, which is coaching.
Come on.
And yeah, I just saw this radical change was so impactful for me that I need to share this with other people. And that's ultimately why I was like, let me go coaching full time because I need to bring this to people who are in that same situation, which unfortunately is a lot of people who are in the corporate 9 to 5 grind because it's competitive. It takes a lot of time and that's what puts food on the table. So it makes sense why that's where people's time and energy is.
Oh, dude, I love your mission, man, and helping people and men get out of those situations. I know for me, like working in corporate America for the last 30 years, I've experienced burnout and would end up giving my family kind of the leftovers of what was left in the tank when I got home, right? What do you feel like is the best way to integrate workouts, nutrition, and faith for men when they're feeling that burnt out, but they want to be better husbands and better fathers?
Yeah, it's really a good question, and I think first and foremost it starts with your vision,
Hmm.
which is who do I want to be as a man, and then what do I want my life to look like in every single area, physically, mentally, spiritually, family relationships, business, career, lifestyle. Get crystal clear on that and really be able to set out what are the details for that high level vision, like truly put on that dream state, that dream hat, because if you can envision that and get super detailed, now you have something to move towards.
Hmm.
Like if you and I are going on a road trip to the capital of Montana versus we're just going to Montana, we have a lot clearer of a destination that we're heading towards. And what that does is it allows us to work backwards from the end destination to get a lot clearer on the intermediate steps that need to be taken to get from where I am today to that place. So really, it's first and foremost getting clear on that vision and then breaking that down to priorities. What are your priorities? And then making sure you're able to actually time box in schedule. So, the way I typically do with my clients and myself is I bring them in, we look at their calendar, and it's like, okay, these are our top priorities. Let's make sure those are on our calendar. Literally everything from our morning routine to the time we eat, to the time we spend with our family, our fiance, to the time we spend in the gym. And just have that mindset of constantly iterating and knowing like, I don't like the word balance. I like the word harmony because that means everything is working in unison. So
Yeah.
you may have to spend 70% of your time and effort at work, which is okay, but make sure you know where you're spending that other 30%, and that's going to move you towards your priorities. So, yeah, just really making sure you're able to iterate and then you're spending time on what's most important.
Dude, so important. So important, dude. I love this conversation, man. So many people are getting impacted right now, man. I love
Let's
this, dude.
go.
Like, for you, I want to get into your coaching programs. You
Yeah.
got moved elite. Like, what are those programs consist of?
Yeah, so really the first and foremost thing that I do with any of my clients, and it's typically something I only do with my highest level clients. And I also just want to thank everybody who's listening for being here. And I also want to, as part of that thank you, just offer them an opportunity to actually do this with me, which is set up what I call your morning momentum blueprint. And
Nice.
really the goal of this is a step-by-step process where we prime your body, your mind, and your spirit, and we get you to a place where you're creating a morning routine that's going to help you get consistent energy, focus, clarity, and time with God to start every single day. So now when you're starting the day, you're in a place of you've grounded yourself, you have a direction for your day, and you've built momentum. And you've done that before anyone is able to disrupt you or to distract you.
Mm.
So instead of just being in a place where you're reacting to life, you're intentionally living it and using your time in a way that moves you towards your goals. So that's with my program where I start anything is let's get you grounded in the morning because if you're
Yeah.
just rolling out of bed, getting to work or, jumping on the computer, it's a disaster. So getting grounded with God physically and mentally, priming yourself. I always like to talk about the body is kind of like the engine to the car. The car is your mind. It's like if
Yeah.
you're only putting 75% fuel into the engine or like you're fueling it with some crappy oil, then your mind is only going to be operating at 75% capacity. When your mind's only at 75% capacity, energy, focus, clarity, your charisma with people in your workspace, is only gonna it's not gonna be at its optimal level. So people will be like, all right, my top priority is work. I got to focus on work. But actually, what they don't realize is their physical being healthy, their mental being healthy is going to help their career. So
Mm.
that's really where we start is we get that morning routine dialed. And then from there, essentially what we do is we're looking, like I told you, at your schedule. Let's break down your day. Where do you need to spend your time in your on your perfect day? When are you at work? And then let's build the rest of it, the fitness and the nutrition, and then also any habits or like dropping vices. I work with a lot of guys who are like trying to stop smoking weed or nicotine or drinking or porn. Let's figure out systems to actually keep you accountable. And
Yeah.
then let's figure out looking at what has to happen every single day. How do we build in those other aspects, the fitness, nutrition, the morning routine, and take it from there?
Man, come on, dude. People need to get into these coaching programs, dude. So good, man. And I think those vices hold so many men back, especially busy men in the corporate workspace, man. They need to get into your program for sure. Man, there's a lot of these so-called coaches and gurus out there that,
Mm.
if, you see them on Instagram and they're just giving like really bad advice. Like, what is something that you're seeing right now that coaches are just saying that is like, that's not good advice, dude. Don't share that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think first and foremost, when you're working with somebody, you have to make sure it's somebody you can trust. And typically, the way you
Yeah.
find the trust with them is number one, how open and honest are they with their story with you? And then
Mm.
really just look to the results that they've got in other people and what other people have to say about them. So I think one common misconception or something that's kind of out there is like you have to be up at 4 a.m. every single day to be as successful as possible. And I can speak from experience because I've had my fair share of, 5 a.m., 4:30 wake ups for long extended periods of time. And don't get me wrong, I think there is a time and place where that possibly could work, and it has benefits because the best part about it is it's undisturbed time. So
Mhm.
whatever you need to focus on, God, advancing your career, then that's just precious time that nobody can take away from you. But yeah, you really, and I think about it with like especially young fathers or guys who, they're working later to like 10 p.m. I work with a couple guys who are in private equity, venture capital guys, they're not getting off at 5 p.m. every single day. So
Yeah.
that's definitely not necessary. Really, what it is just like getting in that consistent routine of, okay, I'm trying to get to bed at the same time. I'm trying to wake up at the same time to get my body in that circadian rhythm. And then how am I going to start my morning? Once again, it doesn't have to be this long drawn out thing. You don't need to do five things, but just figure a way to prime your body, prime your mind, get connected with God so that you can start the day on a high note.
Yeah. Oh, that's huge, man. So good, dude. I am loving this, man. I was part of that 4 a.m. club for like 10 plus years, man. And,
Yeah,
and
me
just
too.
I had to get up at 4 a.m. And, what ended up happening was my wife is a night person. And so like 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'd be like passed out on the couch every night. And it was like, oh, okay. Wake me up at 10:30 when they're going to bed, right?
Right.
So I missed out on the time. But I looked at it like, oh, 4 a.m., that's my time. Be quiet. Like that's where I can have my time. But I
Yeah.
realized over time, probably just in the last year, that I was really kind of deteriorating that time that I had with my family because I was like
Mm,
forcing myself to wake up at 4 a.m. every day. And I sleep in a little bit later, but I'm still waking up by 5:30 now. And
that's awesome.
um, but changed that mindset there. But for you, I mean, you've done such amazing stuff through your journey and your coaching, man. Like, what's the greatest thing that you've learned on this journey so far of life?
Yeah, definitely. I would have to just bring it back to my relationship with God, which
Yeah.
is if God is first and you're truly seeking Him every single day, then everything else is going to become much more clear. And that doesn't mean a lot of people have this misconception like you can't make money, you have to like be a missionary if God is first in your life. But really, what it's just going to do is it's going to bring more abundance into every single other area of your life. And the most transformational part of that journey has been just the character development, kind of like that sanctification process where God is like really working on your heart and character. And what it's helped me do, which has helped me in every other area of my life, my relationships, my career, is I've developed more patience.
Mm.
I've developed an ability to look at the in between in the journey, what is supposed to be happening now, rather than being so destination focused. That's kind of what I mentioned at the beginning. Especially as ambitious men, we get so focused on the next thing and where we're heading that we miss the real work that's actually going to get us there quicker, which is what's happening right now. And I got used to that process. Okay, I study hard, I get all A's. I
Mm.
grind and I practice, I get on the football team. I interview for a bunch of jobs. I work hard at work. I go and get the job at Amazon. And then when I stepped into entrepreneurship and my relationship with God, it's like not all of this is on your time frame and not all of this is on your effort. And actually, when you truly surrender to God, it's like your confidence should be more in the Lord than in yourself and in man. And that was really just the biggest realization was stepping away from the destination, because if you're always focused on the destination, you're never going to find true fulfillment and purpose. Your
Mm.
purpose has to come from that process, that building right now. And it's like, wow, there's a powerful work that's being done right now. I'm kind of making some shifts, for example, in my social media, and it's frustrating because things aren't going the way I'm liking them to, at least from a results standpoint.
Sure.
But I'm like, this is helping me become a better speaker. It's helping me become more personal, build deeper relationships with my audience. So, yeah, rather than focusing on the destination, really focusing on the in between and what's God trying to do here, and then how do I need to grow to get to that next place.
Mm. Yeah, focusing on that journey and being excited about the journey versus the end result, I think is so important. We learn so many lessons through that. And, I've definitely had those crazy streak of like success and then just drop to nothing, right? And like, especially in
Yeah,
podcasting over 8 years, I think just people, they have these misconceptions like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast, be the next Joe Rogan, make $100,000, like it doesn't
right.
really work that way right away, man. You got to put in that grind.
No.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Well, so here we are where it's April 2025. Like, what are you most excited about right now? Like, what's coming up next for you, man?
Yeah, so I got a couple good things coming up. I'm actually getting married at the end of May,
Come
so
on.
really excited for that. God just blessed me. It was not even something I was looking for. I had the desire in my heart, but yeah, God just blessed me with an incredible God-fearing woman, full of wisdom, who's just brought me so much deeper in my purpose. So excited for us to become one, and can already see the purpose that God's preparing us for and how he wants us to have this kingdom relationship that's going to bring more people to him. So I'm really just excited for that. And we'll be traveling most of the summer as well. We'll be out in Hawaii. And I think we're thinking about, I was out in Thailand at the end of 2024, thinking about heading out there. I got a good
Nice.
buddy out there who also is just doing some kingdom work. So yeah, I feel like God is preparing me for a lot more breakthrough. I'm really excited for that breakthrough to come, because the people I'm working with, the men I'm working with are incredible. I just feel like there's this next level of breakthrough where I'm going to have so much more influence for God's glory and so much more impact. Obviously, the way I'm able to impact guys the most is by working one on one for them. Like social media is great and every other avenue, but us building a relationship, being able to go deep on where they are, there's nothing more transformational for that than that. So I'm really excited for God to just expand that and create even more of a platform for me to just work with men in that capacity. Super excited.
Man, that is awesome. Congratulations on getting married.
Thank you.
Dude, that's so
Thanks.
cool, man. My wife and I just celebrated 20 years in March, man, which is
Amen.
just wild, dude.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, breaking the chains of divorce, abuse, addiction, and rejection, right?
Heck
And
yeah.
man, I love that. Man, Jack, this has been such an amazing conversation. So many men and women that listen to the show are going to get impacted through this and you telling your story and what you have going on with your coaching programs. I'm excited for you and your marriage and your travels, man, and just praying blessings over you and your family and your business and your ministry, man. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Eric, thank you so much. Just want to thank you again for respect so much what you're doing, the platform you're creating, how much value you're pouring into your audience. So I just want to thank you for that and for setting an example really for young men and older men, and just showing people like no time is too late. You can always make a change in your life, and this is the path to kind of get you started. So just want to thank you so much for that.
Hey, if you've ever thought about starting a podcast but unsure where to go, you need to go check out ericalanmedia.com. Click on the resources tab there. I will walk you through how to start, launch, and run a podcast. I've recorded over 500 interviews since 2017, and I want to help you launch your podcast. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you catch every show when I drop them. Thanks again. Keep changing the world.